can't be. When all those dark clouds are far behind you, will you choose the path that helps the blind to see? If there's one thing I have learned from living on this earth, life is truly precious from the moment of our birth. There are lessons at the top and lessons down below, but the hardest thing for me was letting go.
Hello? Okay, I think it is recording. I am Jack Mayfield, and I am presenting over Shelly Morningsong and her album, Simple Truth. For my 30-second clip, I inserted the song Simple Truth, being the album title, same title. It goes into subjects of healing through religion and healing in general, and she just talks about the simple truth of Jesus and who he is. I saw this a lot throughout her whole album. She makes an amalgamation of Western culture as well as Native American culture, and I'll definitely delve into this later in my video, as well as I delved into this in my paper. So with this being said, the album is a little rough at times. As I said in my paper, a little bit of the mixing gets really high, and then in the lower hertz area, they don't punch as much as you would want them to, or they don't resonate at their own frequency. They kind of move up and down in frequency into others, and it gets a little muddy in the lower frequencies. So that was kind of the only negative I could find with this album. Outside of that, I found it really interesting. I loved her amalgamation of R&B, folk, a little bit of jazz piano, and then bluegrass. That's what it was, bluegrass. And to speak on the instruments that she uses, she also uses Native American skin drums, as you can hear, I think, in the intro and then on a few other tracks. And then she uses the Native American flute, which she learned to play, I think, when she was 16 from her grandmother. So that was an interesting fact I enjoyed learning about her, because I know you really enjoy the flute, and that was super cool for me to hear on this album. So when I got into her background and how she mixed her values of Western values and being an American, and then having this history of being a Native American and sharing that history with her husband, who is a 100% Omaha tribesman, it just seems like it's tough to bring together. But I think Shelly Morningsong is like the perfect almost mix, because she doesn't use her Native American culture as a selling point, because it is who she is. She uses it not as a spectacle, but as something that she cannot run away from, something that she is so, I guess it's just so deeply rooted into her that's what comes out. Because, when we get in the spotlight and we produce art, what is typically inside of us is what is projected. This is what I personally saw with her. She has a deep Christian faith. She talks about, she has a few gospel tracks that I really enjoyed. She talks about Jesus a lot. I enjoyed that. And then hearing her talk about her aspects of we're all one, we have all this healing in us, nature is here for us, we can do all these different things in nature, life is a circle. These are all Native American worldview traditions that I saw, and I saw them repeated so many times over in the tracks, but mixed with the emphasis of Jesus as the top. So going back to her husband, when I stated about her husband being 100% Omaha tribesman, that is something that he brought up in an interview that I saw, I think, with like the morning show for Arizona or Nevada, whichever one they're living in currently, and he had so much pride talking about that. It was so cool to see him express his culture and express his values to a bunch of people who potentially have never been exposed to that and only know one side of the story of America. and I thought that was really cool just to see him and his pride in his culture. So what a main thing of her relating with her Native American culture is through her husband, because he is the one who does a lot of the mixing and songwriting with her. He also plays the instruments and the flute as well, and a few other guitars and basses on her tracks. And he dresses up in American traditional garb, as well as her, but he will dance alongside her while they're on stage. So he is a huge piece of her live performances. He is a huge piece of her production aspect, and he is also playing into what content goes into her songs. So when she's presenting these things to people and telling them, hey, I'm Native American, a lot of it is from him, and a lot of the traditions that he has, she has as well. So the songwriting is more of a joint duo than two isolated pieces. And I saw how these played with each other just from hearing the instruments on the tracks, being traditional flute, and then the skin drum, which he'll play, and he also has some rattles on his legs sometimes. And I could see that in their live performances. So this was super interesting for me to hear along the whole album. And I love just how she mixes it with kind of country, bluegrass, folk, and jazz and R&B styles, which are all very American styles of music. And I love that amalgamation, but she still stays true to her Native American heritage and roots. So yeah, I really enjoy this album. I feel like it touched on a lot of points that I said in my paper, and she really was an interesting person to listen to, and she was an interesting person to write about. Thank you.